Hello, everyone. In honor of Zack Snyder's Justice League coming out soon, I decided to share with you a list of my favorite director's cuts of all time. Now, this includes alternate versions of a film, extended versions, special editions, assembly cuts, alternate cuts, whatever you want to call it, versions that were different than the theatrical. Feel free to share your favorite director's cuts down in the comments below. You can also follow me in the Stardust app at Fred Film Fanatic and Instagram at Fred Film Fanatic. Starting off, this will be a very different video. I'm not going to go into a ranked tier list, so to speak. This will just be going down a set of random films in no particular order. So starting out with one of my favorites is the extended version of Dune from 1984. David Lynch made this wonderful science fiction film. Took embellishments from the novel, but I like it. What I like even more is the extended version. I used to see this on Sci-Fi Channel, and they actually released it on a special edition DVD. And it adds more backstory into each of the houses, like the Harkonnen and the Atreides. It adds more internal dialogue with Paul Muad'Dib, played by Colin McLaughlin, and overall, it just adds more to the story as a whole, and it makes more sense. It flows very well despite the long running time, and I absolutely love it. Any fan of Dune, I highly recommend checking this cut out. Then another cut is a special edition of Aliens. This is pretty similar to the theatrical, except for the beginning. We actually get to see more from the colony that Newt is a part of. We get to see our parents and why she went into hiding before Ripley and any of the other colonial marines show up. And I like that. It sets up a cool backstory for this colony before the aliens get unleashed. And more is explained for the character of Newt that adds more weight later on when Ripley does find her and is trying to rescue her from the aliens and the Queen. I love this version. It adds just a little bit, and mostly the additions are in the front half of the film, so it really makes the ending feel more epic than it already was. Going with James Cameron, another one of my favorite cuts is The Abyss. The Abyss is an underrated James Cameron film, in my opinion. And it's one of those kind of like Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters where he didn't get to finish what he wanted to do for the ending. So it has a different ending. It also has more backstory for the characters. We get to see where everybody is coming from, the relationship the main characters have with each other. And it continues from the ending of the theatrical. As a matter of fact, it shows this giant tsunami. It's basically gone from, can this oil rig crew survive, to can the entire human race survive? It's such a huge scale at the end. I absolutely love what they add. And it's close to 3 hours long, about 171 minutes. It is the superior version to watch of The Abyss if you've never seen it. Then one of my favorites is the Lord of the Rings extended edition trilogy, and more specifically, Return of the King. This film, it's no surprise why it won Best Picture, but I like the extended version even better for it being like a 4.5 hour movie. I love Return of the King. They even show the scene that's shown in the trailers with Gandalf there. I love it. And it's one of those films that is just a pure epic in every way you can imagine in cinema. After that, this is a very different director's cut. The Godfather coda is pretty much the same film with minor edits and some rearrangement, but for some reason the flow of it is just better than the theatrical in my opinion. I know a lot of people hate this. They think it's the same film. You see my more in-depth thoughts on my channel, but like this cut really added more to the conclusion of the Godfather trilogy and put the focus back on Michael Corleone, and sometimes less is more. And this is just one of those director's cuts that I just absolutely love. Like, I really do. Despite the changes, I think the ending has a bigger impact with the changes they've made. After that is Highlander II, the Renegade version. The Renegade version, or the special edition version that the producers did, I hated the theatrical. Like, Highlander, there can be only one good film, you know? And Highlander 2 is one of those horrible movies that had poor effects, behind-the-scenes production issues, and they're aliens from planet Zeist. The Renegade and Special Edition version changes that. They film some scenes that are added back in for Katana and Connor McLeod, but they also make them back to being immortals from a long time ago. So there's no longer a planet Zeist, and they're no longer aliens. The shield is blue instead of red. And the Renegade and Special Edition have a different version at the end. Connor uses a gun in the Renegade version. He doesn't do that here, but I love it. It is still a bad movie. It's a guilty pleasure, you know, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. If you don't take it out or use it, it's going to rust. You have some cool moments, some cool ideas. It feels disconnected from the first one, but there's certain moments with the Queen soundtrack of Who Wants to Live Forever and other moments here and there that make it feel a little bit more like the first one, and you can kind of see what the filmmakers were trying to do, and they pretty much make the best movie of what they basically had available, and I absolutely love this. It goes from being a bad movie to being a bad movie that's tolerable and entertaining at times. Speaking of disappointing 90s sequels, another one is Alien 3, the assembly cut. Alien 3 highly disappointed me. It had production issues. They didn't even have a script when they were filming David Fincher's first film. And this is a different film in the fact that it's an assembly cut. It's basically a work print edition, kind of similar to Blade Runner. And despite it not being the most complete version of what Alien 3 was supposed to be, it's a far superior version to the theatrical. I love this version of Alien 3. There's a whole subplot of a prisoner aligning with the creature to go after Ripley. There's more backstory added at the beginning. There's more added at the ending. Even some alternate scenes and different visual effects. This has a better flow. Like, I really like this dark dystopian thriller. And as much as I didn't like them killing Hicks and Newt and how disappointing and down this ending was, I do love this cut of Alien 3. And Alien 3 as a whole for one reason. It goes back to them after one alien, and it has that claustrophobic vibe that the first film had. But the assembly cut is definitely the definitive version of this film, and a solid conclusion to this Alien trilogy. Ending James Cameron, I love the special edition of Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Is it needed? No, not really, but I do think it makes for a superior film, and it has everything. Action, comedy, heart. This film is my favorite James Cameron film. I absolutely love what they did with Terminator 2, adding that dream sequence with Kyle Reese. A little bit of alternate takes, longer takes, and then the T-1000 glitching at the end. I really love that. More with Miles Dyson and his family. Just everything about this. It was a very well-edited film theatrically and had a good flow, but this just adds a bit more for all your fans out there of Terminator, and this is the definitive version of T2. And to me, this is what I would consider the conclusion of the Terminator franchise. Just watch the first two films. After that, another director's cut I like is Watchmen. This film is not too terribly different from the theatrical. I do think the theatrical has better pace at the end when you figure out the twist, but I do like seeing the murder of Hollis Mason, more backstory, longer cuts of Rorschach at the beginning, different stuff with Adrian Veidt. I love all the stuff they added, and the ultimate cut is even better when they add Tales of the Black Freighter into it. Overall, this is one of my favorite versions of the film, and I absolutely love the director's cut. It feels like the most complete version of Watchmen. After that is Kingdom of Heaven. Ridley Scott is no stranger to director's cuts, but Kingdom of Heaven I thought was an excellent film theatrically. The director's cut adds even more. We get to see Orlando Bloom's actions at the beginning, the aftermath of what happened with his wife. We get to see more of the kingdoms and then the fallout of everything and when they start fighting. An epic in every way imaginable. Then there is Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut. This film is the closest to what we see with Zack Snyder's Justice League as far as a film being filmed and a director getting fired and never completing it. And he pretty much has to use what he had, you know? And the theatrical reshot some of what was planned. So Superman 2, unlike the Snyder cut, took 26 years to come out instead of 4. So this is an alternate version of Superman 2, and I actually think a superior one. It drops the comedy. Zod and the other Kryptonians are more menacing. You get Marlon Brando back as Jor-El, a little bit more Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, and a lot more with Margot Kidder and Christopher Reeve as Lois and Clark. And this is just an awesome movie that made me wonder of like, what would the world be like if Richard Donner got to film more than 2 Superman films? That would have been an excellent series. But at the same time, I'm happy because he got to do Lethal Weapon. Overall, this is the only film besides the Snyder cut I've seen where a film is a completely different type of experience and a different tone and just a different film overall with the same characters and story. After that is the BVS Ultimate Edition. I love the theatrical, but you could tell the way the fade outs were and just jarring edits that sequences instead of scenes were cut out. This is a completely different film. I haven't seen a film like this in modern memory where a theatrical cut was that badly edited. Like, this is the version that should have been the theatrical cut, I thought. The other one had like Batman, and then there's Superman, but Batman felt like the main character. This one puts Superman slash Clark Kent as a main character with Batman as a flat out villain. I love the extra stuff they add here. I love Lex Luthor's plan. More is fleshed out, more makes sense, and yeah, this felt like a complete film. Then is Daredevil. Daredevil's director's cut. It's funny. I saw Daredevil on opening weekend, and it always was kind of dark where I'm like, I know it's PG-13, but it always felt like an R-rated movie. That's because it is. This is a different cut, and I love this R-rated take. A lot of the stuff is the same, but he doesn't end up with Elektra. He doesn't sleep with her. You get more of Kingpin. You get more violence. The fight at the end is even better. And then there's a subplot with Coolio. I love it. We get to see more of Wesley Owen Welch and how they actually catch the Kingpin. It makes more sense in this version. I love seeing corrupt officers and stuff. There's a scene where Matt Murdock couldn't tell that this officer was lying because he had a pacemaker, so he starts interrogating him by blindly driving his car in a parking lot and hitting all these other vehicles. I love it. They even have that cool quote from the trailer where she's like, Casada! Time to give the devil his due. I just love this version of Daredevil. After that is Apocalypse Now. I love the Apocalypse Now Redux version. I love it. Francis Ford really adds more to this wonderful film, and this is my favorite director's cut from Francis Ford Coppola. Absolutely love it. If you've never seen Apocalypse Now, be sure to watch this director's cut version because you really feel like you live through the heart of darkness. Finally, my last favorite director's cut is Blade Runner, the director's cut, or should I say more definitively, the final cut. This kind of reminds me a bit of Watchmen and maybe even Snyder's, where there's a theatrical cut that was just so oddly edited and just jarring that a director's cut comes in and it becomes a cult classic. I absolutely love Blade Runner. This is one of the finest science fiction films ever made, and an underrated one at that. This is, I think, the best use of a director's cut and why director's cut and extended editions are important. This really goes to show you what the power of a certain cut or a certain edit can do to a film and how much it can elevate it. I know there's a lot of talk against like, oh, we don't want to see an extended version of this or it's for the money. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it put unrated cuts. But I think because of the Zack Snyder Justice League, it's been getting a bad rap for like extended versions or audiences don't want this. Who cares? Why not have multiple versions? Let the audience choose what to see. And audiences chose to see Blade Runner the final cut. This is such an amazing film. What can I say? It's more human than human. Anyway, that does it for my list of my favorite director's cuts. Again, feel free down in the comments. Share some of your favorite director's cuts, extended editions, down in the comments below. You can also follow me and subscribe for more videos and check out these other videos for more content. I'm going to be taking a bit of a break. I've had some stuff with my family, not really me personally, but my family. It just kind of put me down. There's a lot. I got some bad news today, so I'm going to be taking a break. I'm going to have some other videos. We're going to change it up this year. But be sure to see more stuff related to the Snyder Cut as we get closer to March. I cannot wait to see this director's cut, or should I say this alternate version of a film. Yeah. Stay safe and healthy, everyone. Remember, not all heroes wear capes. Some wear masks. Till next time.